Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today's guest is Ola. He is from the Real Happy Hour podcast. He is a podcaster, journalist, and a speaker, which we're going to get into more. So, Ola, welcome to the show.
Hi, and thank you very much for having me. How are you?
I'm good. It's good. I'm good actually, and it's great to have you on the show. I've been on your show,
Yes,
the
you
Real
have.
Happy Hour podcast, back in July 2024. It was July, right?
Wow, was it July?
Yeah, because I'm sure it was because that was with the film Faces. Remember, we watched that
Yes,
film and had the panel discussion, and that was really fun. So now doing season four, I was like, okay, I want to have Ola on and we can collab and kind of go from there,
awesome.
which is
Thank you.
great. It's great. So I'm happy to have you here. So as you're a journalist, a podcaster, but me and Ola, we met. I'm sure it was like 2021. We was at a club. I was acting a mess. Hope you didn't judge me that day because listen, yeah, I was going through a lot. Um, and yeah, we always just used to see each other out and we just have like mutual friends and stuff like that. And then yeah, and then you asked me to like be on your podcast. I was like, oh, okay, I know you, but I haven't seen you in a while. But okay, how's this happen? So, how did that come together? Because how did you even see me? I was very
Yes,
like,
yes, we had met really early in the 2020s, and um, so I'm part of We Are Black Journals, and your name came up as a recommendation because I was asking because a lot of the whole collaboration with the cinema, Genesis Cinema from last year with my podcast was through We Are Black Journals, Hannah to be
oh,
specific.
yes,
And
I know Joe. I know
so
Joe.
during that whole process, I was like trying to source and look for like members of the panel. And then she mentioned you, she recommended, she was like, reach out to Kashif. And I was like, oh yeah, Kashif, yeah, I've met him before. And so I went on your page and saw you were doing so much. And I was like, wow, okay, yeah, this is the
Okay,
right guy. And I reached out and thankfully you were available and you came on and you were amazing.
thank you. Okay, because I know Hannah. I've known Hannah for oh wow, like 10 years now. Yeah, I because we are both alumni from Creative Access. So that's how I met her years ago, and she's just killing it right now. She's just going from strength to strength. But okay, that's great because I did feature on a panel for her We Are Black Journos event in 2022 for like Black History Month as well. So yeah, shout out Hannah. Thanks, Hannah.
Um,
And yeah, so it was great being on the panel. And I know Joseph as well, who was the writer director of Faces as
Faces.
well. So it was full circle. It's cool to kind of like be asked to do something like that and then also know the person and had not
Yeah,
seen Faces, and that's such a good film. So many themes and layers to it, and it was such a great discussion to do
it
that.
really was.
Yeah.
I
So
really enjoyed it. And the feedback usually is when we have members of the film, people involved in the film on the panel, like the takeaway is always very positive. So it was very amazing having Joseph on there, and we had some other lady on there. I remember her name now, horrible.
yeah, but
But she was also
she's
on there, and
very big actress. She's in
yeah,
Mr.
big actress. She was
Loverman
in
and
EastEnders, and she,
yeah, yeah,
and it was amazing having her there. You, of course, and although Adam Strawford was also on there.
yes.
So yeah,
Yeah, he's like I know he's not an actor anymore, but he's doing
like
great
a
work as
producer
like a
now.
producer as well.
Mm,
So it was a really good panel and it was just a great discussion as well. And yeah, so I mean, I think it's great what you do because you've not just done like independent film, but you've had like really big films as well. Like you had it's gone from my head, the film.
we've done the Book of
That's
Clarence.
it, the Book of Clarence.
Yeah,
I'm thinking the Book of Eli. So yeah, the Book of Clarence, and you had the director there as
that
well. So
was
it's like
amazing
that's
because
so
he
good.
surprised us. By the way,
Oh, wow.
he saw our promotional for it and reached out on the day and was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna pop by," and so he just came on. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be on the panel too," and it was amazing. That was like the highlights of the podcast last year. It was amazing having him on, and he's so humble, and he was just giving us so many gems. It's amazing.
That's
Loved
amazing
it.
because I still haven't watched the Book of Clarence because the way it got released in the UK was so weird. Like it had a
Mm,
release date, Then it got pushed
Yeah.
back, and then when it did get released, I saw no promotion of it. So then it just skipped me by, and I was so eagerly anticipating watching that film, especially after seeing the work he did with The Harder They Fall.
Yeah.
So great that film. So yeah, that's annoying. But okay, that's so good. So
Have you
like
seen it now?
no, still. It's not on
Wow.
Netflix or anything. I don't know.
Oh
Like
yeah, The Harder They Fall is on Netflix,
yeah,
but
yeah,
Book of
yeah.
Clarence
But
is not.
the Book of Clarence isn't, so yeah, it's annoying. But okay, so tell me
And you know
about
what's interesting? Even before the day, I saw like a director's um commentary
Mhm.
of it. So I saw his whole commentary of the whole film, and it
Mhm.
is amazing listening to him just talk about his love for music and
Mhm.
directing and his cast and crew. Oh my God. It was just
It's not
highlight.
surprising
Amazing.
though, because when you think about the harder they fall, and from what I saw from the trailer anyway, of the Book of Clarence, like you can see the love of music and the love of film merge in together. And that's why I think it was great that he had people like Jay-Z be the exec producer and stuff like that. Because when you have people who know how to like curate music and score, and especially soundtrack albums and good soundtrack albums, it just kind of flows like that. And that's kind of what helped piece the film better, because I also
Very
remember when
true.
Jay-Z exec produced the soundtrack for oh my
He
gosh,
did Great Gatsby, didn't he?
yeah, The Great Gatsby. That to me, I thought it was great. It was just so
Beautiful
great,
film.
really, really good. And the music was just such a good companion piece to it. The way how it was modern but also classic as well. So okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so tell me about you. You're a journalist. Didn't know this until last year. Like I said, guys, we just used to party and that was it. I don't think we ever actually properly spoke. Not like it was
No, we
anything
never
weird. It
really
just
like
yeah.
chilled.
Yeah, yeah. So like tell me about you. How did you get into journalism?
So I've always wanted to be a journalist from like 10. I always wanted to be a journalist. I remember back in high school, I used to like read like mock news when we had events and things like that. So from a very early age was journalism. Thankfully, I had parents that supported that because the Nigerian is usually doctor, medicine, and that. And so they supported me, and I got into the University of Hertfordshire in 2008 to study communications, and then I went on to study to get a degree, a master's in broadcast journalism. And so for a while, I was a journalist. I was writing for Pause, OK Nigeria, and so many other blogs. And up until 2015, when I went back to Nigeria, I got a job as a freelance reporter for a local TV, well, a state-owned TV station. And that was all good. I was enjoying it. And then one day, I see an advert for a production assistant from a production company called Ebony Life, which is one of the best or the coolest media organizations in Nigeria. And I was just like, let me try because I always watch Ebony Life TV. And I got it, and I thought I could like have two jobs because I was a freelance journalist for the TV station, and I was being a PA on this really cool young production called On the Real. I used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still on. And this was like their first youth-driven series. It was like Geordie Shore or Skins,
Oh,
and
right.
it
Okay.
was really different for like a Nigerian young adult as a young adult, probably around like 23 to 30 audience.
Okay, yeah.
And it was really, really cool. And I felt really cool to be on it. And I was a PA right at the bottom of the sort of ladder. And I learned so much. The producer was so amazing and so willing for me to learn because I was doing the most. And she was just like, okay, all right. And the director too was like, okay. So I did see 2 seasons of that. And at the moment I had to choose between being a freelance journalist or or production assistant, and I chose being a PA because I just enjoyed it so much. And I went into it, and then I got another job as a lead producer for another production company up until 2017, 18. Then I decided to come back to the UK 2019, late 2019, and then we got into lockdown. And I was like, oh Lord, what do I do now? So I had to pivot into a different career in IT, which I am somewhat thriving in. But I was like, I still need to get into production. I like being a journalist, but after years of writing and not particularly always getting paid, I like that being in production and content production, I was getting paid and it was regular. And
Mm.
so I was kind of jaded in the journalism side. So I was like, okay, I got into We Are Black journals, and I was able to get freelance journalism. I didn't have to go into the office. I was happy about that. This is 2021, so there was a whole year that's really, really ghetto that we don't need to get into. Um, like in 2021, so got back into journalism, but I was like, I need to do something like media and film centered. And I was like, okay, I don't really have a community of film or content producers in this country. So let me try and create a podcast and meet people. And the goal of the podcast is meet them and we can collaborate together at some point.
Okay,
And so
okay.
that's when I said, all right, I'm going to start the podcast. I think I started in 2023, January 2023, and it was really cool. I had about 24, 26 episodes of that. And then 2024, I said, can we do something a bit bigger? Let's try and do the collaborations and that. And I got collaboration with Genesis Cinema, started doing monthly events with them and gone even bigger. Now this year, I want to do even more collaborations, but that's the journey so far.
That's amazing. I always love hearing people's journey. And in a way, like you're still doing your journalism and your love of production together with the podcast because like it's you're creating a conversation, you're doing film reviews, you're having discussions, and it's just yeah, it's a mixture of everything. So that's really good. And it's great. Like how you've gone from strength to strength is amazing. To start just in 2023 and then to have, you know, like almost monthly events where you put on film screenings, you have conversations, people network and panel discussions. It's really good. That's really good. And, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And, so with each episode you do, you live record it afterwards and they have the conversation. How do you get the licensing for the films? Because, a lot of people don't
Oh, I
understand how
don't screen the
licensing.
films. I don't screen the films.
Well,
I'm not allowed to do
before like the actual recording, like like in terms of the panel discussion and about the film, how do you get the rights to screen it for your audience and then go
Oh,
for
so then usually films that are out on that week
hmm
or independent films. So I don't necessarily need to get the rights to screen it.
hmm
I'm not yet there in terms
okay.
of that level of access to
Okay.
films.
Yeah.
So it's usually always a conversation with the cinema, like, okay, what film is coming out now? What are the themes for the month? So we usually had themes for every like Black History
Okay.
or Pride Month, or there was always a theme around every film. Or if it
Mhm.
was like a comeback, like we did Bad Boys, which is like a comeback for Will,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then we did the independent movies with Faces, and then in December we did another one called Blackmail. So yeah, I mean, it's a conversation with the cinema, and they're so good to me.
That's really good because the reason why I asked is because some people may look and feel like that's unattainable. Like how I'd
Mm.
love to do that. How can I get to screen a film and then be able to have a conversation and a panel about it afterwards? When actually it's a lot easier if you're able to have a great independent like cinema like Genesis Cinema who really support. One thing I love about them, they really support like local talent, up and coming filmmakers, people who are trying to just reach their goals. They really are supportive in that way. I've been to countless events and countless screenings at Genesis Cinema because they really are about supporting people and allowing them to experience what it's like to have their film be screened, on a massive screen in front of a great audience. And so I think that's really good. That's really good. So how do you come up with each theme every month? Like you said, you've done Pride Month and the comeback, and obviously Black History Month is in October, but like, how do you come up with it and how do you curate your episodes?
So I have accountability friends or partners, and we usually have conversations every month, and it's almost like a workshop of okay, what's working, what should we do, what should I do? Or we both are accountable to each other, and also some friends and sometimes family, and we just have conversations with the people in my circle and decide this is the best thing to pick and talk about, and then we start doing the outreach, and that's how it comes around.
Good, that's good. So what's the plans for like? 2024. Like, I mean, 2024.
2025.
2025. You should, it's been a month in and I'm still saying 2024. It's not good. So what's the plan for this year? Like, where do you want to take it? Do you want to still do what you're doing now, or are you got
So
more?
this year, I'm going to do a mix of what I did when I started in terms of like virtual conversations and studio conversations and the event. I feel like I want the event, these live screenings, to be more of an event because
Mhm.
um for one, I realized that my personality doesn't really work with like monthly gatherings of a lot of people. There are some times when I have an event and I get back home and I've got like a fever because of all the interaction. So
Mhm.
yes, I don't know what that is. Introvert, extrovert, I don't know. But there's just sometimes like Book of Clarence, when I went back home, even before getting home, I was
Mhm.
already feverish in the car. Like so a mix of all three things. And also I'm working towards funding now because I want my events to be free. I want and to just increase the outreach of the reach of people that can be more
Okay.
involved in the community affairs. So that's really the goal of this year: free live events and grow that community. And this year, outside of even this film, I'm going into public speaking now because trying to create another podcast where I'm speaking to different public speakers and
Mhm.
getting their life experiences and documenting and sharing that with the public just to elevate my profile and tell their stories. And so that's the goal for this year: get funding, do more bespoke events, one every quarter, and just grow the community.
I love that. And you spoke on getting funding because, as a podcaster myself, yeah, it's difficult, it's hard. It's really, really difficult to do this. You have to kind of be very passionate and committed to it. Guys, like I'm sure you've seen a lot of people launch podcasts and then you never see it again because
Yeah.
you need to be so driven and so committed because there's no money in it at
Yeah,
all.
it's a very self-motivated
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
and it's a long game. And then people a lot of the time ask you, is it like this is one thing where you really are finding your people, and it's not necessarily people around you because
Mhm.
it's like a
Yeah.
solo mission. And while
Yeah.
you're on this journey, you're just finding people, and so
Yeah.
you just have to believe and be focused on that because
Mhm.
it really is hard. And a lot of the time, you're using your money, you're spending your time, and it's very self-motivated, but it's all about chasing that dream. You know it, you can see it.
Yeah.
No one else around you needs to understand, but you
Mhm.
know it.
Yeah.
And that's what
It's
it's
true.
important.
It's true. I've been doing it for 4 years now, which is crazy to say. Crazy to say, but I do it out of like, I just love giving people like you a platform,
Thank you.
like having conversations, people who aren't really quote unquote well known, but I've seen them doing great work, and then this gives them a platform to be able to share their work to a new audience. Or, sometimes it's their very first interview, and it's nice to have that moment, and they can talk about their journeys, and other people can be inspired and learn, and they can just go from there. And I have too much to say. So you've seen my TikTok, so I always have many things to
Oh,
say.
your
So,
TikToks are amazing. No,
oh,
I
thank
I I swear to God, I wish I could do that because you're doing something that many people wish they could do, but they cannot do. Like it is amazing how you break things down. The minute there's a new update in the news, entertainment news, film news,
you.
and I'm like, wow, like you're on it, and the editing and all of that. I can't do it, but you do it so well.
Thank you, thank you. Honestly, I even like my friends have told me for years, like, you need to start doing stuff like that. I was like, no, 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 no. I can't do all that. I can't be on the camera doing all that. But like I abruptly quit my job in advertising in 2023, and I kind of just was looking for new outlets creatively, and I just kind of started to vlog a little bit. And then I remember one day last year, I was just annoyed by discourse that I was seeing online, and something had been in me to like start making content of giving my commentary and stuff. And I just did it. I was annoyed and just did a rant and I posted it. And it did fairly well. So I was like, oh, and people agree with what I'm saying. So then I just started to kind of lean into it a little bit more. And it's been like just good to kind of get your
You're
feet wet and
you're so
understand.
consistent with it. It's
I
amazing.
try, I try. Like I try, and it's hard, but I'm very like passionate about like Black British culture, our film and TV industry, and it's like people always dog it and they don't necessarily know anything, and I feel like, okay, well, here's what we have had. Okay, before you start complaining about Supercell and saying, "Oh, it's gang related," like, no, this is what we've had. It's just been a flop, or this is upcoming things that you should know about because of the structure of the industry and how it's this old school mentality and there's no money into it and they're not putting money into it, or there's so many rules in place or culture that needs to be broken down, and the higher ups aren't doing that. So so then it just ends up being what it is now. So that's
Mm,
what I try to do and educate people, and I enjoy it. I enjoy giving people updates and telling them what they should be doing.
yeah, like
Yeah, because
even
otherwise
for
people
me,
won't know. They just won't
yeah,
know.
like Black British cinema has been so influential in terms of my love for cinema. Like, I remember when Brotherhood came out, like that was, or even oh Lord, what's that Elijah Woods movie? Something about football, I can't remember right now. But like Brotherhood was so crazy. Like Noel Clark has been like up there for me
Hmm.
from time, and
Yeah.
like the influence of Black British cinema and is so big in terms of our culture, and we need to celebrate it more.
Hmm.
And it's great at what you're doing. Like even some of the things you say about Jean Baptiste, like
Hmm.
some of them I never knew. Some of them like Oscar nominations, or I don't. There's so many things that were being celebrated, but we don't even know, and
Yeah.
not necessarily rating some of these amazing talent that exist in the UK.
Yeah. And it just gets swept under the rug and people just don't know about it. And then they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know this. And so I just feel like it's so important because I think sometimes, like, Black history in the UK, it kind of gets swept under the carpet, and it's very much of, oh, that's an American issue. That doesn't happen here,
Mm,
and it's like, yeah, it does happen here. And if you look good, it's worse because you're pretending like none of these things happened, and then when we think of like our pioneers and our heroes, especially being Black British myself, it's like, yeah, we looked to America so much, and then you see all the diaspora wars, and they're like, "Oh, F you lot are nothing." It's like, well, okay, damn, like, okay, so and especially when you grow up seeing that representation through them, it's kind of like a stab in the chest, like, oh damn, okay. So that's why I feel like it's just important for people to know and people just to see, So I think it's yeah, it's a good thing to do. And I think you leaning into that would be great, especially with your podcast as well. Like if you were able to like post more clips of like the shows and stuff, and obviously that takes work. I know. But
it
like I
does.
feel like that would be great because the panel discussions you've had are great, and you've got great production quality, the mics, the editing. I remember I met your videographer. He's great as
Yeah,
well. So
Nikhil
it's like
is
you've got so
amazing.
much content there. And I've also just learned that you have to reach your goals, you have to lean into social media more, you know.
Mm.
I'm seeing people who are younger than me, they're making a lot more money than I am, okay? And I
This
was
Gen
like,
Zs, I don't understand. It's like, I mean, I'm happy for you guys, but
but it's
you're
like,
really showing us like, wow.
yeah, but I say, look, we set it up. Millennials set it up for them. Now that's why
Exactly.
they're running. We
The
walk so they can
money, the
run.
sprinting.
So now I'm trying to run, basically. So yeah, so that's why I just do videos now. I was like, oh, I don't want to do videos until I'm in the studio. But then it was like, it's so expensive to
Mm.
like produce that properly, camera, lighting, sound, all that. And it's like, okay, I could do it easier on Zoom or through any other podcasting, video website, and it's just easier. And I was like, let me just do this now, and I can continue to build and go from there. So I think you just have to use social media for what it can be, because establishing your brand as well is so important online. And I've just doing videos, I've been able to lean into that more. So yeah. So you said also about that you want to make your podcast event free. some people may argue that, making it free might be difficult because sometimes when they're free events, people just feel like, okay, they don't really need to feel committed to like show up. So how would you like kind of curate your events to make it that people will want to show up for free and, and still feel like they'll get out of it? Because more people feel like an incentive when they pay for something.
Yeah, and that's very true. They do feel more inclined or feel like there's more they will gain when they pay for something.
Hmm.
But also at the same time, I feel like more people would, if there's something they're going to gain in terms of what is clearly put out there in the messaging of each event that this is what you gain when you come.
Hmm.
I feel like people will come up and people do like free events. I know some people who
Yeah.
are not even necessarily interested in filmmaking, but they go to an event that's free. And I've had many conversations with people and they're like, oh, look, there's this person doing this and it's free. And people just go there just to just get whatever it is they're trying to get from that. So I do feel there are a bit more pros to having a free event. And the goal is to be a community based like group that I'm trying to like foster in a way. So um it's just about providing a space, facilitating a space for the community, and that's the goal for the Real Happy Hour podcast. And I feel like if it's free, they would turn up, and we can just keep the conversation going.
I love that. I love that. So, in terms of like funding, are you looking to like get sponsorship from brands who are kind of in line with your vision and like
Yes,
the thesis of the company as well?
yeah, very right. So I'm looking at the council. I'm looking at um brands, organizations that want to be invested in independent cinema, black cinema, and yeah, that's the goal for the year, and we're getting there. It's a bit of a, it's
Oh,
a bit of
that's
a,
good.
the forms and that is a bit of a work, but we're getting there.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. But keep at it. I really love what you're doing. I think it's great what you're doing, and I think it's needed. It's needed. I've not really seen a podcast like yours where you're curating a community and event space for people as well. And we need more of that. And if it's just always ushering the next generation as well. And it's always true, like you never know who's going to show up. Just like the director of The Harder They
Yeah,
Fall in the Book of Clarence. You literally don't know who's going to walk through the door and how that can help benefit your career. And also that's just how you're able to network across in different ways. And one thing what's great about your events is that it's such an intimate space and an intimate community. So it allows that freedom for you to feel comfortable to speak to somebody who you don't know. Sometimes when it's like a
exactly.
massive event, sometimes you kind of like, especially if you're by yourself, you're kind of just like, okay, what do I do? Like, I was at a networking event last week, and that was me. I was walking in, I was like, ah, gosh, like,
No,
okay.
I hate when like you go for a networking event and it's like there's a panel and they're like
Mhm.
industry professionals. They're out there and everyone is trying to speak to them. They're
Yeah.
not thinking of networking across. And it's
Mhm.
so annoying. It's like we literally are here. We're in the same place, guys. We
Yeah.
can create something together.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everyone is going towards them and they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
at all these.
Yeah.
You're missing
Yeah.
out on what
Yeah.
we could create here. It's so
And
annoying.
for me, my unpopular opinion is that when you're in those networking room spaces, it's not always going to the person who is being highlighted on the day. Does that make sense? Like
Mm,
the main guests or whatever. That
exactly.
necessarily isn't going to get you where you need to be or where you want to be. It's kind of like, okay, you're going to get their email, you're going to email them. You probably won't have that meeting or call for another 6 months. And then when you do have it, it will be very much a surface level conversation, or they may be able to put you in touch with somebody else who can help you. And that's it. When I was at this event, I literally went to get a free notebook. I was like, oh, free merch. That's a win. And then a girl came up to, she was like, oh, are these free? I said, yeah. And so, and then we just started talking. Then we were talking, then somebody else saw us talking and then came in, and then it just became a domino effect. Those are the ways I like to network in those spaces. There's always a little window, for something. And then I met a guy who's had his own production company for like 20 plus years. And I was saying to him, I'm begging you, I need to produce a feature film. He was like, okay, email me. He's somebody who I'm networking across with, but is the type of person I wanted to meet, you know? And so that's how you're supposed to network, you know? That's
Exactly.
how you
You're doing it the
network.
right way.
Yeah, you do it the right
Yeah.
way. And then it's like the girl who I ended up speaking to, she was from China. She's here doing her, I think it was like an internship. She composes music. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Yes, that's somebody who I can hire for a film, like to do music. Then there's other people who were quite young and they're starting off in the industry. And some people may feel like, oh, well, that's not who I want to network with, but it's okay to usher in the next generation and mentor them, provide
Yeah.
opportunities for them as well. So that's also what networking is, because then you can hire them as a runner or a PA for your next project. But people, I think, are very too small-minded. I don't think like that. They're just thinking about very selfishly of
Mm,
like, oh, I just want to achieve my goals and this is what I want to do. I don't care about anybody else. And that's
mm,
what I love about your space because it allows people to do that. So please,
thank you.
somebody fund him, like, I don't know, any
Yes, please.
charity, youth organizations, please. But local councils, please, because that's what we need more of. So yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So in terms of in terms of your podcast and being a journalist as well, the way you want to rebrand or do another one, what's that about? What do you want to do next for that?
So I am currently in a speaking academy,
Oh,
and yeah, so they're training me on how to be a public speaker.
amazing.
Generally, one thing I know about, like, everyone can be a speaker. Everyone has a story. Everyone's life story is so interesting. And
Mhm,
I just feel like I have something to tell. Nigerian guy in the UK living,
mhm.
and I've been through quite a lot of things. And I just feel like there's a message there that I can, share in terms of like overcoming obstacles and fulfilling your purpose. And just, I mean, I've not fulfilled it yet, but I feel like I'm on the journey towards fulfilling it. And it's about sharing all the obstacles and how I'm overcoming them and how I'm, having that self-belief and just pushing on. It's a journey of just
Yeah.
becoming. And that's what my public speaking career will be about. So the podcast will be called the Profiles on the Pulpit, and I'm going to be speaking to public speakers, change makers, leaders, anyone who has sort of made some sort of influential impact in their community,
Mhm.
to the world, social media, anywhere, and just get an insight into their lives and their journeys, and a bit like Oprah Soul Sunday, the
Okay,
conversations
yeah,
like
I like
that,
that. Yeah, yeah,
that kind of vibe.
yeah.
I love the young Levant. I wish I could be some spiritual leader like that, or like a
Oh,
Catholic, and
yeah,
then like
yeah.
that would be a dream. But
Amazing.
I'm not that kind. I'm not as insightful as they are, but I have life experiences that have been inspired or can be inspiring. So that's what that journey is about. And yeah, we're working on that. We've got a logo, we've got social
Mhm.
media, all of that starting and all of that. We've got booked interviews and it's going
Oh,
well.
amazing. So are you going to do it like in a studio, like the way how Oprah does it with
I am going to do a bit of both virtual and studio.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be.
Oh,
A bit of both
amazing.
virtual and studio.
That
Yeah.
sounds great. That sounds great. That's also like a dream of mine. I'd love to like curate my podcast to become like that as well. So I love that you're stepping into that as well. So I'm excited to see it. Please let me know. So when are you planning
Thank
to
you.
launch it? Like, do you know? Like when?
Well, filming starts in February. This
Oh,
is
well,
we're in
this
February
month.
now.
Okay, okay.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
by end of February, early March, I should start
Mhm.
putting out at least 2 episodes a month.
Okay.
And yeah, you just see how
Oh,
it goes
that's
from
so
there.
exciting. Oh my gosh. Like that. Yeah, I'm really excited for you. That's going to be really good. And I think, again, it's about creating those kind of spaces and giving people a platform and people can relate to it. Everything what you say or your guest says, like people are going to be able to resonate it from it and be like, oh, that's me, or I've been through that. And oh, okay, I can overcome this and I could do this. So it's always needed. Always.
Yeah.
People will say like, oh, things are like an oversaturated market or ban male podcasts, but not us guys, okay? We're fine. Okay. Not
New
us.
podcasts have sort of died down now. There was a crazy influx of them 2022,
Yeah.
23.
Hmm.
Yeah, like well, there's it kind of died down now.
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
TikTok is wild, like the lives on TikTok are wild.
Yeah, no, not over here, guys. I feel like they're just going less viral, those stupid like male toxic podcasts. Because it's like, why as women are you even going on those shows? Like, why? It's just pointless.
Oh, you know, I've actually been on Pearl's show before. Do you know Pearl?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I went on Pearl's show.
And what was that like?
It was actually interesting. Obviously, I'm not like a I was just very everyone
Mhm.
needs to do the
Yeah,
best
yeah, yeah.
like
Chill,
thing and
chill.
all
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah. Hmm.
But I think I was no, it was there was two guys and about 4 or 5 strong women, and that
Hmm.
was the first time I ever saw like Pearl Red because these women were not playing.
Oh
They
God.
were like, "How are you a high level woman?" Like they were really going in on Pearl.
Oh
And
gosh.
once we were done with filming, Pearl was like, "Goodbye," and she ran away. And even the producers were like, "She never does."
Oh my God.
So
Wow. See, no, I was
it was
once.
interesting.
No,
It
no.
was
I
an
was once
interesting
asked to
space
be
to
on
be
something
in.
like that as well. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I should. Like, this was me like thinking that I want to start to be out there more as well. And then I saw the like, what was it? The topic. And I was like, it's okay.
Oh, you went
It's
there, you saw it, and you said
no, no,
no.
no. They told like over
Oh,
messages, like it was
okay.
on Instagram. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. I don't want to go in there because like I'm not who you're looking for. I would be end up being the person defending the woman and being on the woman's side. And then I probably would get roasted
Yeah.
in the comments. So I was like, it's okay. My mental health isn't ready to be dragged by all of Black Twitter. So I was like, it's
Yeah.
okay, it's okay. So
I didn't even know the topic. Mine was something about single mother, why do men love single mothers or something like that. And I was like, no man is just out here on a hunt for single mothers. Like, like, yeah, if you have a connection, cool, great, but they're not like, man, single mother,
yeah,
pray.
yeah,
Like, it
they're on
was
the
so
hunt.
wild.
Like
Yeah.
what? See, that's as they like to say, that's low vibrational. That's low
Mm,
vibrational energy.
okay.
Because like, what's going on? So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ola, it's been great actually speaking to you about
Thank
your
you.
podcast and how you came up with it, and just talking about the highs and lows of podcasting and what you've got coming up next. So, where can people find you and the Real Happy Hour podcast, and when is the next event?
Awesome. You can find me on Instagram. I'm using Instagram um at Ola Adesanya _. Also on social media at the Real Happy Hour podcast. Um yeah, if you find my Instagram, you kind of know everything about because I've got a link tree and I've got all of my things on there, the link in my bio. And LinkedIn, if you'd like to connect on the serious IT professional level and the speaker level, Ola Adesanya. And website's coming soon because we're working on that for the speaking and all of the podcasts, having all of that together, olaadesanya.com or .co.uk or .co, one of them. Um, so yeah, that's where you can find me.
Great. Well, thanks again. It's great. And you can have me back on the show,
Absolutely.
I got stuff. I got
Absolutely.
stuff I can
I
share.
need outside of even just the podcast, like goal is coming together, working together, creating
Yeah, yeah,
something. It
yeah.
could be
Hit
short,
me
it
up.
could be long form, like even be like social media, like content,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, hit me up. I'm always here. I'm always if anyone knows me, I've got too much going on all the time. So so yeah, so it's good. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in for this week's episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. You know me, there's a bunch of socials everywhere. You know where they are. So stay tuned for the episodes coming soon.